much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Just tell us a little bit about your work history.
So I have primarily 23 to 24 years of corporate experience.
Yep.
I started off finishing tertiary education in engineering and business.
Right, okay.
And then went into and landed in human resources.
Yep.
So I've worked in the corporate office, in the corporate world for about 23 years or so, and I worked my way up.
Wow.
And then COVID came around.
Yeah.
And I'm sure as everybody was asking those existential questions.
Yes.
I was working from home for 2 years.
Yeah.
In front of a computer on my own.
Yeah.
So hard-hitting questions, and I thought to myself, you know, how do I position the rest of my life? What's remaining in terms of my work life?
Yeah.
And decided that I would really like to follow my passion, which is something that I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think at that age, I'm 51 now, and I was what, 48, 49 then.
Yeah.
Financially okay, so I could make those decisions. I had a supportive wife, and I decided I was going to follow my dreams and start my own landscaping and maintenance business.
Wow.
So I took a big step.
Yeah, that is a big step.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things that's interesting for anyone thinking about starting their own business is like, what's the kind of preparation that you do? Just mentally making sure you've got some savings. Like, what were the sort of things you went through?
So there's those types of things that you need to worry about, which is the finances.
Yeah.
You know, what is the plan?
Yeah.
What's the short-term plan? What's the longer-term plan?
Yeah.
How much capital that you would need to set up a business?
Yeah.
So with landscaping garden maintenance, it actually started off with garden maintenance. So, you know, the vehicle, the tools, the trade that were required. So there's those things I needed to really think about.
Yeah.
And then there's the other side that you need to think about, you know, being the primary breadwinner.
Yeah.
How's this going to work long term?
Yeah.
Am I able to sustain the income that I used to bring in?
Yeah.
You know, I've got 3 young children going through school. One's just finished. So there's that mental preparation that you have to sort of put yourself through to really understand, is my passion strong enough to take me through where it may go south?
Yes.
So there's always a risk element to it, and you have to be prepared to manage that risk.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things people often forget is like, what's my plan B? Or like, at what point do I say, well, I'll pull the plug? Because you start off with 0 customers and you've got to get to enough customers. So
You do.
you have to think about, where's my sort of cutoff point? How long do I do this for, etc. So how did you sort of think about that?
Well, that's an interesting question. Because, I mean, if I think about my behaviour in terms of what I was like in the corporate world, I was always quite resilient. I was like a dog with a bone, and I was always trying to get to where I needed to go. So I had a vision in my head, what I wanted the business to look like. And I knew that I had to work 7 to 10 times harder than what I did in the corporate world to achieve an outcome. And then when you add the risk, which is the family, having to support the family, that's enough motivation to keep things rolling and to keep things going. So when you're having a bad day, and you're right, I start off with 1 customer. It was a real estate agent. And I think it was like $350 for the first job to clean a roof. But I thought, you know what, I've got to take anything I can at the very beginning. And I know where I would like to go, but I've just got to go on this journey. There's always, even still today, 3.5 years later, I've still got that element of, what happens if something, you know, what happens if a big customer pulls the plug, or, you know, and it's not just about me anymore or the family, it's about, I've got a small workforce. So it's about, how do I sustain their employment? So these are the sort of things that sort of niggle at me and keep me up at night as well. So as the business succeeds and gets bigger, the problems get bigger. So these are the things that you also have to then think about.
Absolutely. So in terms of when you first sort of set out, how did you actually go about finding customers? Is it mostly word of mouth?
So as I said, I was a dog with a bone. So I was very lucky because when I first started out in my career, I started out in external recruitment. So I was in business development. So cold calling people that you've never met before, where people would be really scared to do, I was fine with.
That's good.
You know, I was just pick up the phone. I had a list of clients that I'd like to target. I had a database I created. And then I had notes in there, follow-ups, or all these things I needed to do. So it was more of a process. And that sort of takes away some of that anxiety around when there is a process in place. It makes things a lot more clearer. So I was cold calling. And, you know, the first customer started off, and then they just started coming through. So they saw the quality of the work. The reliability and all that sort of thing, and then they just snowballed from there.
That's great.
Yeah.
So in essence, you created your own I suppose, client or potential client database in advance,
Yep.
and then you worked your way through them.
Yep.
So quite systematic.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was able to draw on, and don't ask me how I got them, but I was able to get lists, and I can't remember how I actually came across these lists. I did a lot of internet and Google researching as well, and so I relied on all of that information. But now with ChatGPT, you could do a whole lot more. But people don't realise the unrealised potential in that technology.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've obviously had experience working in corporate HR, and then you've gone and started your own business. So tell me a bit about the difference between working in corporate HR and managing your own HR. That must be interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's the I'm not going to say the quality of people, because that's just not right. It's the type of people.
Yeah.
So in the corporate world, I'm leading and managing people with tertiary education, with far greater experience in their fields.
Yes.
Some of them are their own experts in what they do. Have high expectations and working conditions. So there's a set of expectations on what working conditions should be like. And then moving over to, I would refer this as being blue collar, which is almost, I'm working and are trying to attract people who don't necessarily have all the capabilities and the skills. Often these people aren't tertiary educated. They would maybe have a Cert 3 or a Cert 4 if lucky. So their motivation is different, and yet their expectations can also be quite high and sometimes unrealistic, so you have to manage those expectations. Things around general workplace behaviour in the corporate office is much more consistent, whereas the behaviour in the workplace on a blue collar job site can be a lot more different and can be fraught with more danger.
That's right. So you've got all those workplace health and safety kind of considerations as well.
There's that and the behaviour.
It sounds like you're actually training people on the job. Like in a sense, you're saying, well, come along, do a good job, and I'll help you to become whatever it is you like to. So do you then have the issue that sometimes happens where you train people up and then they go out and compete with you, like to say?
That hasn't happened yet, but I encourage that. I do. I've had one previous, or it could be, no, it was one previous employee who started his own. But geographically, it wasn't an issue because they were so far removed from our service area. But you know what? I think that if I can build their skill and capability, that's no difference to what anyone should be doing, trying to replace themselves in any capacity. So I think to myself, every day is an opportunity to train the team. And there's always something new to learn every single day.
That's awesome. I think just personally, I kind of feel that kind of approach means that people are happier working for you in a sense. Like they actually then respect the fact you're trying to build their career.
That's correct.
And they give you that respect in return.
That's correct.
Well, that's good.
I think everybody wants to feel like they can succeed. And it's my job to help them succeed.
That's great. So I suppose the other thing too, did you find, because obviously landscaping was something you're really interested in, you had some skills in that area already just from your own experience. Did you find that there are areas that you then had to teach yourself as well?
Look, there's always, yes, definitely. I've had years of experience working with my father, who was a builder. I've been doing gardening and landscaping 15, 20 years doing it as a bit of a side hustle for friends and family who refer. I mean, my own garden's a showpiece garden. But there's always, just recently we're almost at the end of a completion of a large landscape installation. And the retaining wall systems that we've used, I've never used before. I usually use natural stone or other types of materials. This was a block locking system, and there's things that you learn as you go along the way. So there's a level of basic competency that you need to have, as with anything that you build. And you can build it on from there. But we make mistakes. I make mistakes. But the important thing is that you own up to the mistake and you learn from the mistake, so you don't repeat the same mistake.
That's so true. Yeah. And I think, again, coming back to people who would be working for you, I think one of the strongest things that any leader can do is to acknowledge that they've made a mistake. To the people who saw it.
That's true.
And to say, well, we're going to learn from that, because I think it gives people freedom to then make their own errors without feeling like they've got to be perfect. So
that's correct.
That's great. So how do you manage the finance of your business? Do you use software? Do you use Google Sheets? What do you normally do?
I have software. So I use Xero.
Okay,
and so I have a great accountant who helped me set it up. So this can all be very daunting when you're starting up a business. You're trying to minimise as much administration to free up your time where you can add value.
Yes.
And administration for me does not add value.
No.
So basically, I might spend maybe half an hour to an hour every night on the computer.
Yep.
And the accountant does everything else.
Oh, wow.
So they've got back-end access.
Yeah.
And so when it comes down to the quarterly BAS, they're just retrieving information on the back end. Minimal noise for me. I get paperwork, I sign, I pay the taxes, whatever it might be. So it's very straightforward that way from a finance perspective. In terms of all the other areas around marketing, I do all of my own social media. So I've had to train myself. I use a lot of AI related software as well. So for all our videoing that we do, so social media is very important for us. It's how we reach our target markets.
Because I think that's the other thing that some people don't really understand when they go to start a small business is you're wearing all the hats. You've got the finance hat, you've got the marketing hat, you've got the customer relationship hat, you've got the HR hat, you've got everything. That's all you.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you're juggling all of them every single day.
Yeah. How much time would you say you spend doing the work, and how much time do you spend managing all the other things that go on?
So the day is very long.
The
day is very long. So the day starts at 4:35. We get to site to 6:37. There's a 8-hour workday on site, so I'm physically on site. It's very important for me to lead from the front and be present. The day is long. It's very physical. You come home, depending on what the traffic is like.
That's right.
You might get home at 6, 5 if you're lucky, and then there's the paperwork. So you could be spending up to 2 hours even so every night. Some days you might give yourself a night off, but then keeping in mind, the back of your mind that you've got things that you need to do. So in my case, it's not the finance that's the issue, managing the finance, it's the quoting. The quoting takes up a lot of my time. So I've allowed myself an administration day where I have 1 day a week. And that helps me with my balance, my work-life balance. So normally before my admin day, before I brought that in, I was then visiting clients after work. And so those days would be even longer. And then getting home, trying to then draw out the plans, then think about, because there's a lot of thinking that goes behind a landscape.
Absolutely.
And then you're more prone to error. So the admin day allows me then to visit my clients as well, and then spend the afternoon to the
doing
evening
the quoting,
again, to doing the quoting and anything else that I need to follow up on.
Just going back to what you said initially, you thought you were going to have to work 7 times harder in your own business. Has that proved to be true?
It's very true. And you have to work 7 times longer.
Longer as well. I think that's true. I was just wondering if you have any advice, for anyone who's thinking about starting in human resources, to someone who wants to go into that corporate world, like any sort of advice or ways of understanding what they're in for, anything you think would be helpful?
So for someone who wants to go and seek a career in human resources, I think the primary motivation should be, you need to be asking yourself, well, what is it that motivates you intrinsically? Is it about people? Or is it about process? What is it? Because ultimately it should be around people. Because as a HR practitioner, most of the work that we focus on is trying to achieve work through others. So you have your own teams that you have to manage in HR if you're fortunate enough to manage a team. Who work for a larger organisation. One of your major responsibilities is to garner that, to help others in the organisation be able to fulfil their capability as a leader in that organisation to lead their teams. And so you're trying to relay all people management strategies or whatever it might be around HR strategy, so they can affect that into their areas of work. And it's all about people. It's definitely all about people.
And I think that's really interesting, because a lot of people, when they don't know much about human resources as an area, they think it's just about recruiting people. Like for some reason, HR equals recruitment in people's minds.
Recruitment and trouble. We deal with trouble and recruitment.
Exactly.
So you know what? Within smaller, one thing that I've learned, because I've worked my way through, from external recruitment companies. I've worked through internal recruitment in large banks. I've worked in mining and manufacturing. And now, before that, I was in higher education. So I've had, and then state government. So I've gone through the
almost
industry.
Sector,
I was trying to better myself in terms of what can I give back to the community. So I ended up with state government, thinking I can contribute my skills back to the community. So the smaller the organisation, primarily your role will probably be absorbed by a lot of recruitment activity, and then dealing with some of those industrial relations issues, because that's all they've got in terms of you're the person, you're the person, and mainly that's what's going to come up.
Yeah.
The larger the organisation becomes, the more specialised the organisation can be. Yeah. So I ended up my career with organisational development. Okay. Which was my area of speciality. Yeah. And so that's very unique and specialised skills. Yes. So I was primarily involved working with board, working with executives on HR strategy at the top end for top talent. Yeah. So there's a whole roadmap that one could follow. Yeah. And the larger the organisation, the more opportunity to then specialise.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. And what advice would you have for anyone wanting to start their own business?
Understand the market. Yeah. So what's the problem you're trying to solve? Yeah. So my problem was that I was trying to solve, I was good at gardening, I was good at landscaping, but what's the problem? Yeah. So in terms of garden maintenance, the problem was reliability, punctuality, and consistency, quality of work. Yes. So we've got so the market up in the area that we service, which is the Blue Mountains and Penrith area, it's saturated. Right. With a lot of what I call backyard operators. Okay, yeah. So they're here one day and gone the next. Yeah. So there's a problem there, because there's an inconsistency that I hear among our customers. We're 3.5 years in and we've still got our first customers 3.5 years in. That's awesome. So we've kept them. And is your solution one that's going to be one to fulfill that gap? And is it going to be enough to make the money that it needs to sustain the business long term? And what is it? How can the business grow from that one idea that you've got? And more often than not, you'll find that things will start moving quite quickly, that things have to grow organically. Yeah. And that's when you sort of have to keep your temperament and keep your pace. Because once that organic movement starts to snowball even faster, that's when you can find yourself in a bit of trouble, trying to manage a lot of noise, and trying to make clarity of that noise. Yeah. And that's a really interesting point, because whenever you start to bring someone on, you have a bunch of different obligations. You've got to be sure that you've got enough business to support that, and you've got enough time and skill in yourself to do that. That's correct. But then before you bring the person on, you're at your busiest. So you've also got the least time to actually try and think about all this stuff. Yep. And think strategically, because you're under pressure. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So there's a seasonality to all the types of work that you need to be mindful of. Yeah. Yeah, the demands peak and then they plateau. Yeah. Yeah. And then you're sort of sitting there thinking, I've got no work. Yeah. What am I going to do? Yeah, and as a business owner, having a workforce, that's probably one of the scariest things for me. When you're thinking about the capital and so on that you need to start a business, you've got to really be thinking, this is a 5-year project, usually. That's correct. Yeah. And then you've got loans that you might take out, so on vehicles or whatever it might be. Yeah. That's got to be paid back. Pay that too. You've got to pay back. Is there any other advice that you would have before we finish up? I think that if you're really keen on starting your own business, I think be really clear around, again, what the problem is that you're trying to solve. Yeah. You might be very good and very passionate about something. If the demand is not there for it, then you might not be setting yourself up for success. Yeah. On the other hand, you possibly could try very hard to create a demand. Yeah. So that's the other side of the coin. So if you're very good, which is what marketing is, it's demand management. It's creating a need from something that someone never thought they needed for. Yeah, that's true. And so, you'll be spending a lot more time. You'll need to really spend a lot more time on that marketing component of the business. So you might get caught up with a lot of the admin of running that business. Yeah. But if you're not focusing on the marketing and trying to develop that business in terms of trying to find more clients, then you will find yourself in a bit of trouble longer term. And where can people find you? So online is where you'll find us. We prefer people to contact us online. So it's www.hedgeandarbor.com.au. Okay. We have a great website. We have a lot of contact information in there on how to reach out to us. Great. You can find us on social, on Facebook and Instagram to follow us more personally. Yeah. We like to take our customers on a journey. Yeah. You can follow us on that. That's great, Robert. Thank you so much for your time. You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please check out my website, dominicmclaughlin.com, and check out my free course on businessleaderslab.com.